Daf Ayin Daled. We're holding now Ve'echi Dami. We're now analyzes a biased interpretation of the Brisa. Ve'echi Dami, what are the circumstances of the case? Second set of witnesses who are deemed credible have established that the injuries did not take place on the date reported by the first set of witnesses. According to the testimony, when did the injuries take place? If the latter witnesses postdated the events by testifying that the injuries were actually inflicted at a later stage than the mentioned by the first witness, then they should still be required to pay the full value of the slaves of the master. The reason the first set of witnesses should be chayiv is that when they sought to impose liability upon the man, the man was not yet burned with any liability. Rather, it's the latter set of witnesses was predated the time of the injuries, but testifying that they were inflicted at an earlier date that attested to by the first set of witnesses. Now, the Gemara continues to analyze the case. If the Brisa is referring to that case, the master gives the trial. These witnesses should still be required to pay the entire value of the slave to the master. As at the time of the testimony, the man was not chayiv. The first set of witnesses sought to render the master liable at a time when he was exempt from liability. Therefore, they should be obligated to pay him the full value of the slave. But then rather, must be the master had already stood trial for having inflicted these injuries. It had been sentenced by the Beis Din to free the slave for the first injury and pay him the second injury. So he told him, for which case in the Brisa is learning this of Rabbi. If you say it's from the Reisha that come at Tachshim, it's you say the first case, which involves three sets of witnesses, as claimed by Rabbi, is the middle set of witnesses contradicted and rejected before they are established as Eidim Zemim. The first set of witnesses testified that the eye injury took place after the tooth injury, whereas the middle set of witnesses reversed the order. If so, this middle set a witness sought to lower the master's payment from the value of an eye to that of a tooth. He continues, given the loimitazmi, since the second set of witnesses could not have been rendered testimony would have been established in accordance with their statement. As the judgment would have been decided in accordance with their testimony. One who has 100 dinars. The reason that the testimony would be determined the ruling is that 100 dinars is subsumed within 200 dinars. In other words, testimony concerning a large sum includes testimony concerning a smaller sum. Therefore, it's the first set of witnesses testified that the eye injury occurred last, whose testimony would be considered contradicted and rejected. Whereas the middle one would not be considered contradicted at all. So Rava Savar, so he said Rava holds with the Reisha b'shalish kittis, Seif and Nami b'shalish. So the Reisha is b'shalish, the Seif is also b'shalish, B'deg Seif, and Rava learned from the Seif. Rava explains the leader clause is referring to a case where in the Asubay today were two witnesses. The one mentioned the Brisa come and say, the master knocked out the slave's tooth and afterwards blinded the eye. Based on rule in its judgment in accordance with her statement, obligating the master to free his slave and compensate him for the value of the eye. And now two other witnesses came and say, first the master blinded his slave's eye, and then he knocked out his tooth. They contradict testimony of the first witness. And the first pair were found to be Eidim Zemin, therefore they pay the value of an eye master to Rav. Now Rava reaches this conclusion based on the following reason. If you enter in your mind that contradicting testimony is not the start of determining the testimony of Eidim Zemin, why do you pay Ha'itachshule Mikara? They were already contradicted from the outset. Granted, it's impossible to interpret the first clause without the three sets of witnesses. Says the Rav said so. With regard to the latter case, why do you say it's Shalish Kadishai Eved Emerkin? That's why what the slave says. Eved, the reason is that by a slave, called the Memrahu, a slave would say anything. It's satisfactory for him that he should be free. The case of if the master blinded his eye, the slave should go free on account of his eye. If he knocked out his tooth, knocked out his tooth, he should go free on account of his tooth. If he blinded his eye and knocked out his tooth, the slave should go free on account of both his eye and his tooth. By Allah the pasuk says tachas einay, for his eye's sake, not for the sake of both his eye and his tooth. We learned that if one stole an ox established based on the testimony of two witnesses, and my love, they either all so I'm referring to the case where they testify concerning the theft, and then testify concerning the shchita, and then rather with regards to the theft, and then with regards to the conspiring witnesses. But once they render conspiring witnesses with regards to the theft, with regards to the shechting, it's in effect contradiction. And what do we learn? That he must pay everything. And if it enters in your mind that the contradiction of testimony is not the start of Hazama, and why does he pay on the Tzvicha? It must be that at the Hazama. They said, no, or they're corresponding witnesses first. This is a matter of Machlikas Hamarim. In the case of witnesses of a capital crime where they were first contradicted by two other witnesses and ultimately they were rendered one says they get killed, witnesses were contradicted. In the case of involving taking a life, like in a good Malchus. If you think it's Rabbi Lazar, my like when you get Malchus, they laugh should take Lazarus Mrs. Basin. Now we know that it is a Cholaf should take Lazarus Basin, and like I love Rabbi Lazar in the dog this time. So the Gemara says, like in why do you get Malchus today? You know, there are two witnesses, and my chazal Samchus. Why are you relying on them? Rely on them, Spechani. We're talking about a case where the witnesses testified that he saw a person murdered, and the individual who was allegedly killed came to the basin on his feet, conclusively disproving their testimony.